game if she decides to go too crazy on the dives. But Team Liquid have one more pick to go for before the second round of the bans come in. We'll see how they want to prioritize this one now. 5 seconds left to make that decision. Ooh. And it looks like they'll go for a pretty defensive option here in the Galio.
Yeah, I like the Galio a lot. Really does make it difficult for Akali to do what she wants to, both in terms of assassinations and side lanes with the global ultimate, giving protection, as well as the taunt is super effective against her in that AoE shroud that she likes to sit in. The taunt covers that entire range, so you're guaranteed pulling her out of that.
Right, and like you said last game, even though you can't hit her with any sort of targeted ability since the taunt's an AoE, and it also makes her reveal herself since she's auto-attacking you, it's a way to manipulate the rules a little bit and sort of make her play your game instead of having to deal with that in and out of the shadows sort of mini game of guessing where she's going to go.
Yeah, a lot of Galio stuff is like that as well, just like even his Q is good against Akali in that sense where he doesn't need to be able to actually target her with it, as well as in lane just being a very tanky champion who's going to be harder to pick off, assuming that both those are heading mid again like we've mostly seen out of these Akalis so far.
We're getting into the second round of bans now, and it'll be interesting to see exactly how they decide to finish this one off, because remember, this is a very high-stakes game. Like, we talk about seeing Akali, we talk about seeing things in a way that maybe, you know, it's the last day, maybe you want to try and experiment, do something different. These are two of the teams that I say would be the least likely to experiment, the ones that are probably going the most, hey, we think this is going to win, the try-hard mode to make sure that you have not left anything on the table that might have been able to increase your chances.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, especially about Akali. Like, this is not just I'm having fun, like potentially with C9 locking first already or whatever. These guys really care, and that shows that they really do think it's indeed a strong pick. And that's why you know that people are going to be going real hard in this game. Interesting to see the Varus left up, considering a lot of people consider it to be one of the best champions in the game in the bot lane. And with all the marksman buffs coming in, none of those really hit what his core items were, whether it was the lethality or the Blade of the Rune King. So maybe that's why his priorities seem to have dropped, and they preferred to target ban the Ashe and the Kai'Sa. But either way, it was one of the champions that a lot of people felt like was good into mage bot lanes explicitly, and they left it up after picking Swain. So that was a little bit of a surprise for me.
Gangplank will be the final pick locked in on the side of CLG Academy. They'll put him up there in the top lane, Akali mid, Gragas in the jungle like you said you were anticipating, and with Varus, Tahm Kench bottom. That's pretty standard for that bottom lane area. As we'll see the Irelia hovered and locked in on the side of Team Liquid Academy. They say, all right, you can ban Riven away, that's fine. We're still going to play another one of these flashy melee fighters.
Yeah, absolutely. And a very, I think got some minor buffs on this patch. And I was talking to Freak beforehand, and he said that the play rate of Irelia, excuse me, for professional accounts had actually skyrocketed with this buff that came in. So a lot of people feeling like she had come back into viability after getting nerfed out of it temporarily. We'll have to see if she's able to have a good matchup versus the GP. She'll have plenty of all-in threat. He's not the most mobile champion, so potentially going to be able to take this one.
Hey, there was a clip yesterday on Reddit of TF Blade getting a quadra kill on Irelia, and the enemy team instantly surrenders. That's the magic of Irelia. All you need is a couple buffs.
Yeah, but now there's an Akali on the other team. Which one is more frustrating?
Which one is going to manage to find the outplay against the other? That could be a super fun matchup to watch. I mean, let's be honest.
Oh, both of them are in a side lane?
Yeah, send those two into a side lane, a split push situation, and it all comes down to the 1 versus 1.
I bet if I was playing the Akali and you throw your ult at me as Irelia, I'm just going to press W and sit there, because you can't get your Qs off. It's actually probably really good into Irelia in a side lane, because so much of Aurelia's power is loaded into her Q and the resets and all that stuff. You can just wait the marks out yourself.
Just sit there, throw a Q real quick to get the extra duration on your Shroud. That is one thing we didn't talk about, is when the Shroud is thrown down, every time you pop in and out of the stealth, it will extend the duration of it, so you get it for longer, as opposed to literally just throwing the Cloud on the ground and sitting AFK in it like you used to be able to do. They do punish that a little harder on the rework.
Right. It's still pretty long duration regardless, but it can get very lengthy if you're really min-maxing that. But if I was against Irelia, I would take the AFK approach, because I do not want the Q resets on my face.
Yeah, those resets are pretty nasty if she manages to land multiple of them in the same fight, but it looks like we're not going to get anything too crazy here early on at level 1. A couple wards thrown down here in the river brushes by both sides. Tuesday using a different Akali skin. This is blood.
Wait, eat some ramen Tuesday. We got to see if I was right. What was it? What did the other ramen look like?
The other ramen was
like an egg in it, right?
Yeah, I think so. Looked like a couple meat things too. I'm not quite sure, but that was, the other one was, I'm pretty sure the other one was the sushi chef Akali skin, the one we saw Golden Glue use.
Right.
And this is the Blood Moon one.
Yeah.
So we'll see if she's got any fancy particle effects or anything like that for us as the game goes on. But going up against Insanity here, this guy that I kind of want to reiterate what we've talked about with him before, because this is a player who, he's got the montage name, right? Insanity.
Oh, yeah.
He sounds like a guy that's going to be playing some really crazy hard carry champs and things like that, but he's just been a wonderful player to facilitate everyone else on his team doing well. He plays these teamwork-style champions like a Galio that doesn't need to completely dominate the game himself, but rather makes it so they've always got this reliable mechanism in the fights that they can fall back on.
Yeah, and speaking of being the team player here, it does not actually look like a great matchup as we're watching this one play out. The Doran shield on Akali giving a lot of sustain. The Q as well. Getting some good trades off against the melee range champions. Definitely an easier matchup for her than a lot of the range stuff we've seen her played into thus far. But like we said, it's a lot more, most likely a team counter than a lane counter. So it speaks to your point, especially when we always talked about how much he seems to excel on global type champions. Once again here, having the Galio to help with those globals.
Tuesday timing that well, waiting for the taunt to run out before he follows up for more damage at the end of that there. Takes a turret shot, so the trade's not quite as nice as he would have liked it to be, but he still forces his opponent back. That means Insanity will have to expend the teleport here very early on.
And I am super surprised as we see Viper getting some trades on the Fallen Bandit here. Nice barrel chain combo. I am super surprised to see Tuesday with a cleanse of all things.
Yeah, he really doesn't want that taunt doing a lot to him. And I mean, when you look at what that'll get him out of, yes, it gets you away from the Morgana binding. It'll get you out of a never move from Swain, I guess. But Hard's making the play here into the top side. Fallen Bandit wants to flash out of that when he will stay alive.
Nice move by Hard, though. Pretty low commitment to just get that out early on. Everyone's going to recall there. Both top laners will TP back in. And then Viper will hopefully be able to take that flash advantage that he got to convert into a play a little bit later. But yeah, to your point about the cleanse, while there are a couple abilities that you can cleanse on the enemy team, most of the time people only take cleanse when it also helps in laning phase, because if you're not going to ever get hit by a binding for the first 15 minutes of the game, you effectively have one summoner. It's not going to be really useful against the taunts. It's not going to be anything against Hard for the most part. So an Ignite would have got him a kill there. Didn't have that one. Going to have to see if that comes back to bite him in the butt, see how much effectiveness he gets out of this. You often saw it versus Syndra's, against Elisa's, people with skill shot CCs that you're going to want to cleanse off. Like we said, nothing here between the mid and the jungle.
We'll keep track of how much it bites him in the butt versus how much it saves his butt as the game goes on.
Oh, yeah.
Bindings might find their way towards him, but now Wiggly's in some trouble. Damage coming over the wall, and the flash with the lightning comes out from Shorty to grab kill number 1. Phil trying to get Otto out of here. They're both going to be taken rather low. The binding comes out from Joey, and Team Liquid Academy looks to find kill number 2 for themselves. A little bit more damage onto Phil will be found there as Hard picks up that one.
Oh, just a disastrous invade for CLG Academy there. They tried to get some pressure on that blue buff that was left up for that gank to work on the top side, but it happened too slow, and it allowed the rest of TLA to get back there Hard, able to get involved in that collapse. Insanity completely ignoring Tuesday and going for the flash double taunt onto the bot lane. Good decision by him there, and they get those 2 kills.
Insanity now trying to force a fight out here onto Tuesday in the mid lane. Does find a good amount of damage onto him. Takes some in return, but these trades are looking a lot more even. Let's take another look at this invade from Wiggly.
Yeah, you see Wiggly just really far ahead of the rest of his team. Even though this is a classic mistake that a lot of junglers make in competitive play, as we see the punish come in here as they keep dying. What often gets communicated by bot lanes is they say, we have priority. And as you see on the minimap, they actually have the wave pushed in under the turret. And whenever you have priority, that's assumed to mean, I can move first.
Right.
But TLA was you can always sack your priority and still move and just give up the minion wave. Yeah. And that's what TLA did there with the fact that Joey just moved right away. They said, I'm not going to care about this XP. I'm going to protect my blue buff. And CLG was not prepared for that, as they were kind of tunneling on the fact that, hey, if they save for this minion wave, only we can move. But the enemy team sacked it for those 2 kills.
We have priority as conventional wisdom, and they simply took an unconventional approach towards it by giving up the minion waves, which led to them going up 2-0. So a good choice for Team Liquid Academy.
Absolutely. I mean, the amount of times that in a scrim review, we looked at an invade that went bad, and it started with the words, I have priority, and then followed by the enemy team showing up first. Let's just say it was more frequent than you would think.
Viper getting some good use there out of the ability to utilize that Irelia W, negate some damage. We've seen him getting some good trades so far up against Fallen Bandit here on the top side. He has the level 6 now, but it's going to be both junglers showing up here to the fight. Viper going to be taken very low, looking to find the damage onto Fallen Bandit, who gets the kill back onto him. Oh, he throws down the ulti to keep hard away. Can they make this a 2 for 0? If CLG Academy can turn this all the way around, it could be pretty big. Otto finding some damage onto Shoryu here in the bottom lane now as well. Good turnaround from CLG.
And this is a tough start for TLA up on the top side, at least. They put a lot of pressure into Fallen Bandit to get that flash, and no surprise, they try and make a play up there as well. But Wiggly bouncing right back from that invade, showing he still got his head in the game, knows that's where they're going to want to go next. So after that blue buff secure, both junglers knowing the next point on the map is going to get pressured, they go topside and are able to protect the flashless GP.
Like that devour there from Phil as well, making sure Otto doesn't take any more damage on the follow-up from a well-aimed binding coming out from Joey. Tuesday in the mid lane here, remember, does have the level 6 on Akali, but it's not that same old Akali that means you're going to be dashing all over the place. Much more limited mobility coming out, well, at least limited uptime on mobility coming out from the new Akali ultimate. Both of them hitting level 7, and the farm's dead even.
Yep, farm is dead even. The mobility argument is an interesting one around the new Akali because at least old Akali had to be targeted towards an enemy.
Yeah.
New Akali can, while having long cooldowns, throw them anywhere. And so in a lot of
we saw that last game as an escape mechanism.
Yeah, he was able to use that ult defensively. And so the new Akali actually has substantially better defensive options available to her. You lose a little bit of MR and that instant pop from your W, moving you to some part of your Shroud. But in exchange,
you don't have the unlimited uptime offensive.
Yeah, you give up a little bit of offense for way better defensive tools.
Liquid Academy now deciding they can pick up this Cloud Drake rather easily for themselves. Hard can solo that one down on the Kindred here. Considering he's got the Blood Razor completed, percent HP damage is pretty effective against big HP sponges like a neutral objective. As mid lane, it's 1 versus 1, and Insanity wins that one pretty handedly.
Does get that trade in his favor early on. Luckily, the Shroud protected Tuesday from the passive slam from Galio coming in. Otherwise, he would have taken even more damage there. Showing that you still got to be careful. Galio is pretty good into a lot of melee matchups.
Meanwhile, Fallen Bandit doing one of the things Gangplank does best. Walk into the enemy jungle when you have your lane pushed up, tax the small raptors, grab the extra gold on all of them from Parlay with the barrels, and continue to flood that economy early on, making sure he can work towards that Trinity Force. One nice part for him compared to his opponent, look at the inventory for Viper, who wants to build towards that Tiamat to deal with some of the wave shoving potential and wave management that he'll need on Irelia, while Gangplank can just place barrels and go for that Trinity Force power spike that much earlier.
Yeah, definitely working out very well for him, as well as a difference in the runes, you can say, with the Time Warp Tonic. I'm assuming this is what Fallen Bandit has, but this is what most GPs do right now, which is the Time Warp Tonic with the Biscuiteer. He actually has a crazy amount of sustain, and while Aurelia also has that Corrupting Pot, will not get as much value from it. And I wonder if that's factored into this laning phase at all, with the fact that Fallen Bandit has been able to sustain better through all the trades that we've seen, because there's been a lot of combat up in the top side.
And while we have seen the solo lanes break pretty even in terms of the farm and the overall wave control, bottom side's gone heavily in the favor of CLG Academy, as 88 compared to 65 is quite a lead to have in terms of farm 10 minutes in.
Well, this is exactly what I was talking about when I said I was surprised to see the Varus left up after already locking in a mage bottom laner in Swain. It's one of those matches we were talking about how everyone's saying, well, Varus is the answer to mages. You pick one, you ban out two things that previously mages were pretty good into, and you're left, down 20 CS 10 minutes in the game after already repelling a blue buff invade for a kill on the enemy support. So we'll have to see if this factors into their team comp later on. It does work well with Kindred and things like that, and maybe the Varus being not mobile is better than the Kaisa, so you can hopefully lock him down, but 10 minutes in the game, not a good look.
And speaking of Kindred versus Gragas is always an interesting jungle matchup, just because you see Kindred throw down the ultimate in the middle of a fight, and it just sort of becomes this mad scramble for everybody that's even half low HP to get in there and make sure they stay alive. But then Gragas has the ability to say, yeah, no. And everybody just goes flying out of it. So I'm expecting at least one really helter-skelter team fight by the end of this one, as Wiggly comes around the corner looking for some damage here onto Insanity. He's going to be able to find the taunt onto 2, but he'll likely go down rather rapidly here. There's your Lamb's Respite.
Oh,
there's your knockout. Oh, baby, did I call it, as Team Liquid Academy loses their mid laner there in the mid lane fight, as Otto has to flash away bottom side. Shoryu and Joey looking to find this 2 versus 2. Otto going to be taken very low, but now Shoryu's also going to watch his own health bar. Very, very low on this one. Nice sidestep from Otto. The fancy feet facilitate the kill as CLG Academy will look to maybe make even more happen here. There's 3 members of TLA in the bottom lane with half health or lower. They want to collapse onto this one. Fallen Bandit's already got himself a barrel, wants to chain these together. Goes for the triple and can't quite find it. TP going to be coming in now to make sure TLA doesn't lose anyone else. Insanity makes his way down now back into the fight that he was removed from earlier so forcibly. And CLG Academy decide, nope, we're not doing this invade thing again. Everybody out.
It was a nice play overall, though, because they also got the extra TP out of Insanity, forcing it down to the bot side to protect his bot lane. A little dicey for a second there because they were posturing that dive, and Otto and Phil were actually relatively low. So Viper made a good decision to threaten to aggress onto the 2 members down the bot side there, and they back off. But it all started with this play, and like you said, this is why the Gragas is seen as a counter sometimes to the Kindred. He comes in, has the ultimate to save Insanity. Insanity wants to get his own ult off to give them the knock-up, but he just gets popped out of there by the Gragas. That's the first kill. Some heavy trading as, hold on, another TP down the bot lane.
Shoryu's finding himself on the wrong side of these 2 now. Has to get back to the safety of the turret, but is quickly devoured. And that means he's a tongue lash away from death. Phil picks up the kill.
Phil with the kill. Not a bad play by the Tom Kench, transporting them down there for that. Seeing how much damage he's able to do despite that. Here we see Joey trying to use those Moby boots with the Cloud Drake to get involved in that fight, but just a little too far away.
Wasn't quite able to find it, but still some good damage coming out from Insanity there. You saw he did even get the passive smash down during the brief half-second the Akali was visible thanks to the taunt, as Wiggly will move up into enemy territory just slightly to clear out some wards here. 0, 1, and 2 on the Gragas, 1, 0, and 1 on the Kindred. Both these guys involved in 2 kills for the team so far, as Team Liquid Academy has their sights set on that Rift Herald. Looks like no one will be able to stop them from the side of CLG, as Wiggly and Tuesday will look towards the bottom lane yet again.
And the pressure from this bot lane that they've had all game long, up to a 40 CS lead now for Otto. And it looks like it might result in the first turret of the game as well. Mid lane priority roaming down there, able to stop them from getting in.
Tuesday just continues shoving everything up here in the mid lane. We'll likely see that bottom lane rotating around now to one of these other positions, as Hard does a good job stealing away that enemy blue buff, grabbing himself a little bit more control, a little more EXP and gold, and of course, infinite mana is not really a bad deal either. 2 marks of the Kindred up and running for him.
About to get a 3rd here, I believe.
Does collect that. Remember, 4 is the magic number for the range. Hard wants to get himself away. He draws the turret aggro, pops the ulti to make sure he stays alive, but the Gangplank ult coming down nearly takes him out. The flash into the parlay means he's out of there, Insanity ult or not.
Surprising pathing there by Hard to try and get out of that situation. Ended up putting himself in such a worse spot than potentially just jumping out to the right side to meet up with Insanity. Takes a lot of turret aggro, split the focus, so he's in the dropping down there. A big miscommunication, it looked like, between Viper and Hard. And with that, the fact that Insanity ended up on the top side, no one's left mid, and the bot lane of CLG is able to rotate to the mid lane with that pressure from the bot side and grab their 2nd turret of the game.
Dying and displacing your mid laner is a pretty big green light for your opponents to then immediately look for an objective. And after you found an objective, why not go for a 2-fer?
Yeah, absolutely. Get everything you can. TLA was doing, I think, some smart stuff overall in terms of kind of splitting the map to get the Rift Herald. They got another mark onto the Kindred, and all that was good play. Just what looked like one small error cost them huge in that sequence.
We'll see if they can get some value out of that Rift Herald they secured earlier. They will almost need you to make sure they don't lose too much tempo here. 15 minutes in, down a couple thousand gold. CLG, not only are they ahead in kills, but look where the kills are at, Mark. 2, 0, and 1 on your Gangplank. 1 kill also onto the Akali. Granted, 2 kills are on Tom Kench, which isn't exactly ideal. But considering these solo laners that have so much snowball potential are getting that ball rolling, you can't complain.
Yeah, and with Tom Kench, it's not too bad. You see Otto still up about 1,000 gold over Shoryu just from the global gold as well as the CS advantage. So you might want those onto the Varus, but he's still very far ahead of his opponent, just over 15 minutes into the game. And Tuesday has now moved into the side lane with the Varus on wave clear duty.
And when you look at the top laners, even though the gold on them was only 500-600 apart, the big thing I'm looking at is not just how much gold this is, but what that gold translates into, because the Gangplank's already sitting on completed Trinity Force with the pieces of his Ninja Tabby being built next. When you look over at Viper, he's got completed boots, he's got the Tiamat, he's got pieces of Trinity Force, but that ever so important power spike is not there. So Fallen Bandit has a lot more combat power.
Absolutely the case, and you can see, I think TLA is trying to avoid some of these matchups now. Like you said, with that Triforce gun, they put their duo lane to match up against him, as well as grab a turret with the help of that Rift Herald. Otto is going to be shoving up in the mid lane, and this is going to be one of those games where it feels like lane assignments will be very important. Who needs to match who in order to kind of advance each game plan? I assume you actually want GP versus the Galio of all things.
Which means Aurelia versus Akali.
Which is what we were hoping for.
Just like we were looking for.
Well, we'll have to see if that actually ends up being the case. We got it right now.
CLG feels like they're far enough ahead to feel comfortable going for that blue buff steal again. Not going to backfire like it did the previous time. They're back so many minutes ago. As more vision's going to be dropped down. I like the fact that they're trying to set this up, facilitate Tuesday's split push, make sure he's safe as he pushes up like this, but a good job from TLA clearing out that vision, keeping that map dark, so that Tuesday has to be ever mindful as he continues pushing up towards this tier 2. Wiggly again looking to clear out some vision there as Otto uses the Blade of the Ruined King, trying to get himself away here. Now as Bard continues the pursuit after him, wants to get another auto attack down there. Slow's going to come through. Gangplank ulti also gets dropped down by Fallen Bandit to stop the chase from TLA. Fallen Bandit now on the front line against Viper, looking to find even more damage here. Finds a nice barrel into another parlay. Fallen Bandit's going to be taken very low. Viper kept alive by the power of the Lamb's Respite, but not for much longer. Fallen Bandit going to be taken nearly down to dead now, as well as Joey gets taken down below half HP. Into the middle of the fight goes Phil, looking to keep these guys alive. Tuesday barely walking himself away through the Shroud. He's going to flash to the safety of the turret. TLA looking to run him down even further now. Grabbing the kill onto Phil, makes it 3 for 2.
What a crazy fight as it looked like it started with TLA going too hard. They blew a lot of cooldowns to try and drop onto Otto. They couldn't find it, and CLG actually wants to take the re-engage. But TLA looked like they out-executed just a little bit with the Kindred being able to keep the Aurelia alive enough to bait a really big fight there. And Tuesday actually got gobbled up, I believe. So we'll take a look at this. They try and go into Otto right away, and the GP ult's going to stop this one from really working. And then they see that they have the HP advantage with Viper being low after Fallen Bandit takes this trade, so they just want to go here. They forced the ultimate from the Kindred, just getting it off in time. But during that, they kind of left Otto to die as Shoryu went hard on him to finish him off. Watch Tuesday here. As soon as he goes in, kind of gets gobbled out. He wasn't quite in the Shroud yet, I guess, and was going to get focused down. Either way, ends up being a 3 for 2, excuse me, as Phil ends up dropping there. And we see some diversions in the build paths now, as Tuesday has completed a Sheen, most likely working to a Lich Bane, which we did not see out of Golden Glue in the previous game. A lot of people are still working on the build path of Akali, and it's probably one that's going to be very variable depending on what you are playing against. But I got to say, the Tuesday Akali looking a little sloppier than the Golden Glue one. Haven't seen any of those backwards E's to get into safe trading patterns. He's kind of been going for those long-range ones and not really connecting as often with them.
And considering the Sheen doesn't actually give you any combat power itself aside from the proc, it's just a mana stick.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the ability to insta-clear the back line with a single 5-point strike as well. So it will take a little bit longer for him to push these waves out, especially going up against somebody like Insanity, who will be able to have quite a strong push of his own. CLG Academy just needs to make sure that they're tempered in how they're doing these fights. They went a bit overzealous in the last one, despite the fact that they had the gold lead and Team Liquid Academy was able to make a nice punish there. Got to applaud them for that, but at the same time, CLG needs to be very mindful, like you said, of where their AD carry is, exactly what you're doing as a 5-man unit to make sure nobody gets in too much trouble. As the Tahm Kench ulti comes here into the top side, they will not collapse onto Insanity in time, but scaring him away may set them up with enough of a chance to take down this tier 1 turret.
See if they bought themselves enough space. This is the advantage of the marksman in the mid lane, being able to clear those waves right away. Use the Tahm Kench to get into one of these side lanes, grabbing their last outer turret for themselves. And TLA are going to try and answer back in the mid lane, but it looks like there might be a collapse coming in from the Akali in the top lane.
You only have Akali and Gragas. It won't be enough of a collapse. The rest of the team heading over now. Team Liquid Academy will not find that tier 1 for themselves, and that's the power of the Gangplank, right?
Oh, yeah.
Always call in that ulti anywhere on the map, clear the wave out, and stop the objective push. Means CLG Academy do come out on top in that one overall, but another objective has spawned, and Team Liquid Academy want to make this Drake their own. They decide to already start on the aggro here, bringing it down below half. CLG's hanging around, but it looks like they're going to decide this isn't worth it. Tuesday goes for a quick shuriken over the wall just in case there's a chance for the Miracle Steal, and Hard secures that one for the side of Liquid.
Yeah, CLG opting to kind of give that one up to reset on the map first and see if they can get some more tempo for themselves. And despite that last fight not really going in their favor, I think CLG is still pretty well positioned for this game overall. The GP is completely online at 3-1-2, and he'll be a monster team fighter later. And your Varus, like you said, yes, he did get popped in that one fight, but you have the Tahm Kench to keep him alive, ideally, in the future. And if they don't tunnel quite so hard on finding kills against the Kindred, where you need to play things slower, they should be able to take a lot more of these fights.
Varus hitting that second item in the power spike as well. Rage Blade completed. It's really scary when he gets plenty of auto attack time off in the team fights like that. Granted, it can be a little bit difficult when you've got Irelia jumping onto you and so much pressure onto you individually to try to kite her and deal with that. So CLG as a team will have to address that issue if they want to make sure he has that free firing time onto the targets like the Swain and the Galio. Viper will pick up that blue buff for himself. Does have the Trinity Force plus the Tiamat plus the Ninja Tabby, so considering that farm advantage he's got over the Gangplank, he's doing all right for himself. The CLG Academy will not be able to find the Baron early.
I like the attempt, though. It's a pretty low-cost, high-reward play. If the enemy team is not really ready for that, you might be able to find that for free. They don't. Supposed to go back and push in mid lane, and we'll have to see if they try another one of those global side lane plays with the fact that they usually push out faster. Maybe on the Galio, though he's pretty tanky. And unfortunately, we got the Irelia back against the GP. No melee carry 1v1s is, Phil.
Phil in some trouble though. Hard finding a good amount of damage onto him. Takes him down to about half, but of course that will regenerate a little bit thanks to the thick skin. Wiggly wants to go over the wall, find some damage with the Chains of Corruption coming through here as well. Early stopwatch from Shoryu, and he's not going to be knocked back because the cast isn't quite at the right angle. Fallen Bandit makes his way into the fight, finds a nice barrel onto multiple people. Shoryu still going to be taken very low here in the fight. Viper also off the side. Lamb's Spike comes down, keeping Joey alive. Viper still looking to chase down onto Otto here in the back line. Joey's the first casualty of this one. Viper still taken low, but he finds the kill on Wiggly on his way out. It's still a triple kill for Fallen Bandit. CLG Academy has won the fight for now, but can they find anything else? Bandit himself rather low on HP, Phil low as well. Otto going to be taken down very, very quickly here. Hard can't quite be taken down just yet, and that means CLG Academy heads for the hills. Hard goes deep underneath the enemy turret. Fallen Bandit grabs the damage onto him. No. Insanity's going to be slowed down, but the winds of war do blow, Mark, and it's a double kill for TLA.
What started out looking like a great fight for CLG gets completely turned around as TLA get the ace. They're trying to be a lot more non-committal on this approach, as they know that this time, Hard has that ultimate. They'll be able to keep him alive. The ultimate by Wiggly did not get the knockback quite they were looking for, but they're already starting to retreat, as it felt like they knew Irelia was coming from the flank, so they're ready to peel back at a moment's notice, and that's exactly what they do as soon as Viper goes in. Otto kites this one out very well. Phil is there to support him, so Viper's getting chunked out, and Tuesday's just running distraction duty on the backside, but he starts eing the other way, away from his team, and so instead of kind of kiting towards his team and potentially finding more kills, he runs away and gets cleaned up by Hard, and then Fallen Bandit takes an auto trade here because he thinks Phil is going to be able to collapse in time to help him out, but the taunt by Insanity stops the Tahm Kench from really being able to help him out at all there. Fallen Bandit tries to protect him, but his barrels are getting hit instead. They do find that one kill, but cannot quite sidestep the Galio Winds of War, who then finds that cleanup under the turret.
That one got a little crazy.
I like the overall plan by CLG. Kite back and largely protect Otto while Tuesday does Akali things on the backside of the fight onto anyone who is getting distracted by him. But Tuesday needs to make sure that he ends the fight by regrouping with his teammates, not kiting the wrong direction. Maybe it was just a misclick on his E that sent him that way, because I don't think he was, or he was once again tunneling too much on landing the E on a target who was on that side of the fight. sadly probably need another look. My eyes just aren't what they used to be.
There's a lot going on in fights like that. I feel like
let's blame.
You can't always.
Let's blame it. It's a new champion.
The fight. Okay, it's the Kindred aspect of any team fight. Any game that has Kindred in it, the team fights are at least 50% harder to keep track of what's going on because Lamb's Respite is just the okay, forget about it, everybody go crazy button.
Yeah.
Because everyone has to go into the middle of that thing. Everyone saves cooldowns for right when it ends, and you have just such a moment of chaos as soon as it expires. It's just a very difficult ability to keep track of sometimes. As now, we're going to have the fight on to Fallen Bandit here in the bottom lane. He can't quite find the damage, and Hard will not go with him. That's 1-for-0 going the way of Team Liquid Academy.
Yeah, so TLA finally find their own kind of play that they force themselves. This time around that actually works. A nice pick off onto the GP. No summoners up for him, so made it a pretty easy kill once he started running up into that river and bumped into the Kindred, but not really much to get off that. I guess Viper will probably be able to take this bot lane turret for himself, but CLG still have firm control of the top side of the map that they've had ever since they've put their duo lane into that mid.
What have they found from that control? Not a whole lot just yet. We saw the Baron sneak attempt earlier that didn't grab them a whole lot. Team Liquid Academy now grabbing the mid lane tier 1 from their opponents. That'll tie that overall turret count up at 3-3. Both sides still yet to pierce the tier 2 line. But with those tier 1 turrets down all across the map, that means that both sides now have that chance to go deeper into enemy territory, set down those wards, make those rotations. And when the game's only less than 1,000 gold apart, whoever wants to be the hero of the day and make that call and set up that play could determine the pace of the game.
Yeah, and we talked about this kind of being the highlight match for the day, the second and third seeds fighting for the right to get that bye, and the match has thus far lived up to expectations. Lots of very close fights. Like you said now, basically even gold, even turrets, even kills. CLG wants the Baron, though.
They really want to go after this Baron. A control ward over the wall from Hard is going to stop them for now. But I like the fact that they're going for it. They're not just sitting there saying, okay, what do we do? They are making a call. It's unfortunate for them, though, that the call is being read very well by Team Liquid Academy.
Yeah, and I like what they're thinking because they're down a TP advantage against Viper here. And so Fallen Bandit and the rest of CLG kind of ran there, starting the Baron, see what's going to happen. Maybe they can get the TP out of Viper, but it didn't feel like they were actually going to get that commitment from him, so they back out right away, and Fallen Bandit continues down to this bot side to grab that. His TP getting close to being up, but still a lot more available by CLG, or by TLA, excuse me. And I wouldn't mind seeing TLA make a tricky play with all these TPs. You can maybe hard commit for the GP and then TP back in the Baron pit if they try and go for that trade. It does feel like TLA have a couple more options for the next couple minutes.
Stormrazor also completed now on the Gangplank. A pretty big purchase for him, considering Gangplank's not one of those champions that's going to be auto-attacking constantly most of the time anyway, right? It's shoot a barrel, wait a little while, shoot another barrel, so those barrels are almost always going to be crits.
Yeah, I mean, the marksmen, a lot of them do like it because it is a single item power spike that basically turns you online by itself. GP just likes it because it perfectly kind of fits his play pattern with his parlay, his barrel chaining, and all that, so huge item on him. Also spikes really hard because it doesn't force him to buy any other crit. He doesn't need to.
You're allowed to buy lethality, you can buy Guardian Angel, you can buy whatever you need, really. Tuesday continuing to push up here on the top side with that Lich Bane completed, working towards the Zhonya's Hourglass now. This is what we saw come out as item number 2 last game for Golden Glue. Very important, especially on these divers, on these assassins, to have some sort of an out or at least a pause button to make sure that you have some exit strategy after going in.
Yeah, and this is a case where, you know, last game we were talking about how many squishies there were on the map and how fast those fights are going to go. Here, both teams actually have a fair amount of tankiness and survivability within, you know, with the Galio, with the Kindred, the Morgana, and the Swain, all having kind of defensive tools. DPS will be very important.
Liquid Academy trying to make the play onto Otto, but he's going to be kept alive in the Devour, and now Team Liquid Academy going to turn their attention on to everyone else. Fallen Bandit also getting himself away. Piercing Arrow comes out from Otto at the end of that one to make sure Hard goes below half HP, but honestly, for as big of a go as that was from Team Liquid Academy, everybody from both sides got out pretty well. Yeah,
everyone had to run through that big Aurelia ult 3-man, but not enough other CC landing to chase down on the more kills. And now CLG has to be a little careful. They've gotten control of the river, but don't have control of their mid lane.
Crab is up, so you kill the Crab. CLG Academy maintaining control over that. Have a little bit of extra vision, bonus speed around the Baron pit. Gunblade finds its way onto Shoryu. There comes your Shuriken as well. Tuesday really looking to find this last bit of damage here. Galio ultimate comes through, making sure Shoryu doesn't get finished up there at the end. Quickly gets bound up here in the front. Viper able to find a stun down onto him, but remember he's got no ultimate here in the middle. Stopwatch also going to be used, keeping Viper alive, but now he's got to be careful. Black Shield down onto him. Viper already bursted down before Lamb's Respite is able to keep him alive. There comes your shutdown. Fallen Bandit grabbing the kill now, down onto Insanity as well. Shoryu trying to escape off to the side, but Tuesday wants to make sure he rounds him up and makes this 3. Shoryu trying to buy himself a little bit of time, flashes away from the Shuriken, but Tuesday is still in hot pursuit. Phil decides to go for the Devour, bring him ever closer to his opponent. Shoryu, it's Swain's wild journey towards the enemy base. An execute is probably the best thing you can hope for. Tuesday will try to deny it to him, goes for the Shroud now, but the execute does come.
Yeah, that's the very sour cherry on top of a very bad Sunday for TLA, as they are probably going to lose the Baron here. Hard is in range, though.
This could be a pretty big steal for Team Liquid Academy. Hard goes over the wall, but he goes over very early. Now he's a play with DPS! You gotta be kidding me. Hard with the hero play for Team Liquid Academy.
Oh my God, I can't believe that worked. He got in and out. He hopped over the wall around 3k damage, and it felt like no one on CLG wanted to hard commit onto him. They mostly stopped damage on the Baron, a couple of random auto attacks thrown in there, but for the most part, it's the rest of Hard just doing the damage, and drops it down, gets the kill, gets out, and TLA stay alive the game after losing a fight in the mid lane.
He just jumps over the wall, says, why the hell did you guys stop DPSing this? Fine, I'll do it myself. DPS is the thing for 2,500, bursts it and leaves.
Yeah, I mean, there was some like other spare damage, like a piercing arrow went through and like maybe a GP barrel, but yeah, Hard just takes that one down. Well, wow, they're 5-manning, trying to get the most out of this Baron with the bot lane push.
Games like this, swing moments can decide everything. And if there's a swing moment so far in this match, Mark, that is 100% it. Team Liquid Academy now putting their best foot forward, trying to go on the offense here against CLGA and see if they can make something happen in the bottom side, pressuring onto this tier 2 line. Baron buff means you should be able to break tier 2s. They're not that hard to take when you do have that extra pushing potential. CLG Academy will hold the line for now.
Yeah, and that last team fight by TLA that they ended up losing that kind of led to that whole Baron situation was fought pretty poorly by TLA, all things considered. The Galio ult was used early on a target that was already out. The Kindred ult was late and could not save Viper. And so now with the gold that they got from the Baron as well as the pressure, you have to be a little worried for CLG here that they're going to need to really find some good fights because you can't count on TLA always making mistakes like that. So both teams still very pressed to make the right play. There's so much outplay, like you said, with the Kindred, with the Galio, the Akali, the Gragas. All those have such high variance in how their abilities work out.
And it's sort of along the lines of what I was talking about earlier with how close the game is. Whichever team can make that big play and sort of take destiny into their own hands is the one that will decide the tempo of the game going forward. But the problem is, CLG has a great team fight where they take destiny into their own hands and control the fight and control the pace of the game. And then Hard says, no, you can't have Baron. And then he takes everything into his own hands. And now we've got a game that's essentially in the same state as it was before.
Pretty much, all things considered, the gold lead still 1,000. A couple more kills, though, on the scoreboard for CLG.
All right, we got some more kills.
Yeah.
But it's still the same story being told between these two squads. We'll see who ends up deciding to go for the fight here. It's 40 seconds left on Baron buff for the side of TLA. Also worth pointing out that along with Lamb's Respite to stop people from dying, we currently have 2 Guardian Angels, a Gargoyle's Stone Plate,
3 Zhonyas,
4 Zhonyas across both teams,
right,
and a QSS. There's so much stuff in
as
these
well
fights.
as Tom Kench, Devour, Morgana, Black Shield,
Galio Ultimate,
Gangplank Cleanse,
Akali, or not Akali, Irelia Damage Resist, Akali Shroud. There's a lot of ways to not die in these fights.
Yeah, and that's what we were kind of saying too. Like, it's one of those things where there's so many, it's so hard to lock someone down and actually get a kill. As people will, a lot of it will be about trading cooldowns. If you can bait the Galio ult without using too many of your own resources, the fight gets just a little bit easier. If you can bait the Kindred ultimate without hard committing and then leaving your AD carry to die. Like, feels like both these teams are, every fight, learning a couple more things that they should be doing in the next fight.
When I was talking to Azale one time about WoW PvP back when he used to be #1 WoW PvP world, and he was like, and I asked him, so what's the basic like fundamental thing? Like if you had to simplify this down to PvP for Dummies 101, how do you get good at this game? He's like, it's all about making them spend more valuable cooldowns than you're spending, and then eventually your rotation is just good and theirs is bad. And then you kill them.
Right.
So that's essentially what you're trying to do here. Say, okay, I'm going to use my Gragas ultimate, which is a 60-second cooldown, and trade it for your 90-second cooldown Lamb's Respite, and I'm going to out PvP cooldown you.
Yeah, and it works even more if you can get good vision control, because then hopefully you can even just use your Gragas Body Slam to force out a flash or something, as all those are back up.
Crab control remains ever important. That one's going to be secured by the side of TLA, as we'll see more wards be shot to pieces. Elder Drake spawning here in just a couple of seconds. It's going to be quite a juicy prize for TLA, while CLG Academy only has one Elemental Drake under the belt, so they're largely concerned with just keeping it out of Liquid hands. The Fallen Bandit's content hanging out here on top of this control ward. Knows if somebody walks too close, he's got the barrel with the Storm Razor ready to go.
TLA,
gonna turn into anything else.
They have a ton of globals up, and yet are kind of agreeing to go into this 5v5 bait around the Baron, because it feels like they're so concerned about late TPs or not having a good ward to TP to that they're just prioritizing the 5v5.
Gangplank ulti comes down. Viper now, potentially in a pretty bad spot here, decides to go back into the entirety of the team. The Galliwall coming down, only finding its way onto Wiggly now. As the kiting continues, Lamb's Respite gonna come down, keep everybody on the side of TLA alive. The heal goes through, the damage comes down. Viper gonna be taken low, still left alive. Tuesday with the stasis in the middle of everybody. CLG Academy now gonna be taken low in their own right. Otto goes down to the back line as Hard grabs himself a kill. Phil's gonna be taken nearly down now too. A double kill over for Insanity. Fallen Bandit comes up to the Guardian Angel, but the shutdown comes through and the ace is there for TLA.
And that was exactly what I was talking about from the last team fight, where TLA missed a ton of their key ultimates to lose that fight. This time around, monstrous Galio ultimate, monstrous Kindred ultimate to allow them to actually survive that fight, because it started
everyone alive.
It started horrible for them. They were completely split. Viper looked like he was going to die. Sure, you got completely chunked out on the backside of that fight, but they're still able to take it with all those defensive cooldowns coming in, as CLG were not patient enough, you could say, in baiting them out.
Also worth noting, despite the fact that Viper looked like he got 5-man engaged on and then dove directly into the back line to set up Galio at the beginning of that fight, his Guardian Angel's still up.
Oh my god. That's gross.
It's still up at the end of that fight somehow.
And that's why we talk about this guy being such an amazing carry player. Going into that fight, transporting the Galio for his team, and then staying alive throughout the entirety of that fight. Absolutely crazy. And with that, they also grabbed the Elder Drake. Good usage of their resources after the fight, only sending 2 to take the inhibitor and leaving Hard to solo that down. Now they're very well positioned to use those advantages to secure themselves the Baron buff, and then hopefully the game after that.
Oh yeah, when you've got the bonus pressure from a wave of super minions, as well as the extra damage on everything you do from that Elder Drake buff, what are your opponents gonna do? Look at Tuesday, he is popped! And Team Liquid Academy now has themselves a fantastic 5 versus 4. Viper wants to get in there, set up some kind of a stun. Can't get in range in time, but now for CLG Academy, what do? This Baron, TLA territory.
Yeah, almost nothing to do about this now. They probably don't have the tools to fight 5v5. Gonna have to sack this one and wait out the Elder Dragon, and then maybe take a fight around one of your inhibs to defend them.
It's looking rough.
It's looking tough. Good TPs by TLA, and here's this fight once again. So finally getting time to look at it. Tuesday over the wall, splitting this. The GP ult also splits in two. Viper decides to go in with that ult dropping down on top of him. Hard kites over, and Shoryu, after getting chunked out by Tuesday, is able to stay inside this. And the Gragas ult was already used, so when they go in to try and clean this fight up, a number of kills happen with Shoryu popping his ultimate before he dies to chunk people out. And then Hard is left alive in the fight. He has a very offensive build with Blade of the Rune King on the Kindred, and so he's going to stay as effectively another carry in this fight.
And as we jump back to live, we see the base being absolutely demolished as the top lane is destroyed. Inhibitor turret and inhibitor both go down there. Team Liquid Academy still continuing this push. They've got the Baron for 2.5 minutes. The minions just bombard those Nexus turrets. CLG Academy will do everything they can to try to defend this one, but honestly, there's not much to do. Team Liquid Academy will just maintain control over this area. They get the Gangplank ultimate already. Knowing that's out of the way, that's a pretty big team fight tool. The push keeps moving forward. It's still coming at them as Viper will once again provide the dive. He'll set up the Galio, he'll find the damage, and Team Liquid Academy with an Irelia triple kill will take down CLGA and find themselves a ticket towards a bye.
And no redemption for CLG either. It's got to be a pretty bitter taste in their mouths towards the end of the season. Like you said, not getting the bye, not getting the redemption, and also just the way it happened with the loss of the Baron and everything. That's a game that they're going to spend a lot of time thinking about.
At the same time, Team Liquid looked good in this one. Team Liquid looked like a team that deserves to have themselves a playoff bye. We talked about how Cloud9 proved, yeah, this is why this team has been at the top all split at the end of game number 1. Team Liquid looks like a team that says, yeah, we're right there too.
Yeah, I think there's a clear top 3 in Academy right now, and that's why the rest of the teams are looking at this game being like, all right, for seeding, I do not want to have to play CLG Academy in the first round because they looked very strong. You said TLA looked like they definitely deserved the bye, but it wasn't easy at all for them as this was a back-and-forth game the entire time.
Yeah, it was so close for so long, and honestly, you got to just take a look at how some of these plays worked out here. Let's take a look now at one of those.
Yeah, and this is one of the ones that TLA won while playing it well, and we're talking about baiting cooldowns and things like that. So you bait the Zhonya's out and trade for the Varus ultimate, you try and kite it back, and you disengage this fight because the enemy team has the cooldown advantage right now, and it looks like they're going to get onto Fallen Bandit, but the team does a really good job kiting out, and Otto, with 2 items at this point in the game, is largely unfocused and allows him to take down Viper pretty quickly, but there's the Akali kiting out to the wrong side, Eing backwards because you want to land the Shuriken, but guess what? Now you're away from your team, and it's a 3-for-2 with a full health Galio and a Kindred who is very, very strong as well, full health, and is going to be able to take this auto attack trade versus Otto, find the kills, and then they're not safe under turret with how tanky this Galio is. He can charge right in there and tank the turret up while Hard drops a lot of the DPS, does die, hands over the shutdown, but the double kill with the Winds of War, very pretty end of that fight.
And let's not forget the fact that this game very easily could have told a different story if not for one man, one blast cone. I don't even know if it was a blast. Didn't he just jump over?
I think he might have queued over.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. One man, one Q, and one big Baron steal that honestly just won TLA the game. That Baron steal set them up to get to a point where they were able to win that game-breaking fight near the Drake that we saw. Let's take another look at that now. 37 minutes into the game, Viper goes in.
Hard not only saved them at that Baron when he was able to steal it, but he saves them in this team fight as well. He's kiting forward to meet up with the Galio and the Kindred, or the Irelia, who were diving into the backside. He's able to get a great ultimate off that protects not only his front line, but his back line as everyone meets in this one area. The giant Swain ult, as he dies, is able to get that one off. Irelia is able to stay alive, not even get the GA pop, despite looking like she was going to get blown up at the start of this fight. And TLA play this fight so well to be able to get through this and pick up clean ace this time around as they were able to land all their ultimates compared to the previous fight that they had lost. And there you see, it was completely in CLG's control for most of this game until...
Look at that gold grab. Wham is right. That is a vertical line.
That's a double black diamond if you're skiing. You don't want to go down that.
No. That thing is horrifying. Or absolutely amazing if you're the side of Team Liquid Academy, because we talk about the struggles, even not just in Academy play, but even in LCS play of teams to be able to close out the game, right? Like you don't want to run into that wall of, okay, how do we actually end it? That's the good kind of wall.
That's no bunny slope.
That's the kind of wall you want to see for how you end these games. But to hear more about the victory now, I'd like to welcome Joey to the broadcast here via Skype. Joey, how you doing,
hey guys,
man?
How's it going? Oh, hello. Doing pretty good.
Good to hear. Yeah, after that, it was a very back and forth game. Talk to me about what it was like playing in it, and was it as crazy as it felt to watch?
It was definitely pretty crazy. I felt like at a certain point, we stopped really like making calls. We kind of just started like fireball snowballing as like a team.
Yeah.
Really didn't play macro that well. It was pretty clown fiesta by the end.
So what do you think drags you into that? Because there were a number of new champions, you know, with the Akali coming in, as well as the fact that there was a ton of defensive cooldowns, like for both teams, like Tom Kench Ws, the Kindred ultimates, and all this stuff. Is it that there's so much to talk about how to play the fights better that you start tunneling on that, or what do you think is it that makes you start dropping some of the macro focus?
It's just like you get to like it's a big game for us, right? So like there's a little bit of panic that sets in. Like it's getting late game, everything like matters. If you make a mistake, that could just like straight up cost you the game. So that like adds into it. Plus like we didn't play too much against Akali that much this week because we didn't really think that they would play it. So there's just a lot of factors that just contributed to us not really getting it.
So mid game, there's a big team fight. You guys don't come out on top of that one. Then they go for Baron, and Hard just goes in and takes it. Talk to me about the comms, what they were like during and after that fight, and then after the Baron steal itself.
Basically he was like, I'm stalling because like they had 2 people chasing him. Me and Tony were like, all right, we just have to back, reset, go to Baron as fast as possible. And like I have so much trust in Tony, like I had a really good feeling that they were just leashing him Baron. So it's like never 50-50 when you have Tony on your team.
Never 50-50 with Tony. I love that. I love that faith in the teammate, man.
Yeah, that's always good to hear. Now, talking about the fact that you, with this win, got the bye for yourselves in playoffs, is that something that you guys are excited to get? And how are you feeling heading in there? Is there any teams you're scared of?
It kind of sucks because like we don't get to play the extra stage game, right?
Yeah.
So we like miss a round of stage games, but it feels really good because we're like 5 rookies. We had similar standing that we did last split, even with Mickey, who's like an insane Korean player, and so that feels really good. I think I'm most scared of Clutch, but every other team not really so much.
Ooh, that's, I think, interesting to a lot of people because C9 has kind of quote-unquote dominated Academy so far this year. Eyebrow arch out of you on that. So why is it that you think Clutch is the scariest opponent for you?
I don't know. I feel like they've been like really playing a lot better towards the end of the split. I think Vulcan's actually really insane, so I think that he'll probably carry them because after he played LCS and didn't look too good, he started to play a lot better in Academy. So I think that their 2v2 bot is pretty good compared to the other teams in Academy.
Well, hopefully these playoffs end up being a lot of fun to watch, at least as fun as that game was, because it was quite a battle between you guys. It was a lot of fun watching you again. Congratulations once more on earning the bye and punching your ticket to the semifinals, and we look forward to seeing more of you as the postseason rolls around.
All right. Thanks for having me.
All right, we're headed for a break, but Game 3 is coming right up here. When we return, see if 100 Thieves Academy can secure 5th place against TSM. Once again, fingers off those browsers. We'll be right back.